Welcome to the training session of IVMUN 2022, and this is the second part of the crisis training session, planning. Okay, so first, why plan ahead? Crisis councils are not just surviving through crisis updates, but what distinguishes a good from a great crisis delegate is their ability to plan ahead. It is to be proactive instead of reactive to a crisis update. So, for example, when there is a new crisis update, you should be making sure that you are on top of the situation, and most importantly, you know how to turn the situation to your advantage and not just responding to the situation. In this video, I will show you what you need to prepare before planning, how to plan accordingly to the crisis situation, and some actions you can perform within the council to guarantee that your plan will succeed. Okay, so firstly, know thyself. Understanding your stance and objectives within the council. The most important thing to know before planning your moves is to identify and understand your objective, whether it be a character's motives or state's agenda. Your every action should be steps and making a clear pathway that should ultimately lead up to you achieving those objectives. So having a clear idea of your goals will help you get a general idea of what to do. For example, there's a new crisis update of Venezuela presidential crisis, Guaido versus Maduro. If you represent US, UK or France, you should side with Guaido, and your objective is to attempt to remove Maduro from power or weaken the Maduro's regime. If you represent Russia or China, your stance would be side with Maduro, and your objective would be to protect his regime and maintaining Maduro's rule over Venezuela. Okay, so in the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity. So with your objectives in mind, you want to start navigating the crisis plot from the first crisis updates. Usually the opening updates tend to provide fuel for conflict and allows for all parties to start formulating their plans, find ways to turn the situation presented by the updates to your advantage. Think about the implications of the updates on your plans. This is how you can be both reactive and proactive in the council, keeping close track of the crisis updates to find and exploit the openings that the crisis directors intended for each update. For example, the Venezuela presidential crisis, the update is Maduro assassination. So the reactive way is to just investigate the assassination. This way you only get the information to work on. But if you are proactive, for example, you represent the US, UK or France, the proactive way is to attempt to secure Guaido's presidency and fill in the power vacuum. And that's now vacant with the Maduro's assassination. If you represent Russia or China, the proactive way is to use the assassination as an excuse to perform more aggressive, potentially military actions on behalf of the Venezuela's regime. Okay, next is to know thy enemy. This involves lobbying other delegates and forming alliances or espionage to your crisis directives, and simply do whatever it takes to get information. Okay, so know thy enemy. Even if you have a very elaborate plan, there are also other delegates influencing your plan and direction of the committee. So you should reach out to other delegates in your blocks, and most importantly, don't be shy to form unlikely relationships with delegates on different blocks. Keep an eye on everyone else and what they're doing, whether through unmonitored caucuses and sending espionage through directives. Know the stance and find out the objectives, and you can adjust your plans accordingly. When you have a strong support from other delegates and aware of the opposition's intentions, you should be able to execute your plan with flawless precision, always moving one step ahead of the council. Next is who wishes to fight must first count the cost. This is to remind everyone, but one last important thing, to stay within reason. Even if you insist that an impossible plan will work, the crisis directors cannot grant the directives when it's outside the bounds of reality. So you should be making sure that your directives doesn't involve elaborate or impossible conditions. Last one, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. With all these things in mind, you should be ready to start planning your ruthless path to take over your next crisis council. The moment the first crisis is released, while others are scrambling to react, you should be already see your way to victory. And always remember, with every move, you are rewriting history. Thank you, and this is the end of the training session of the Crisis Part 2.